Jeffrey moved away 6 years ago. A close friend lost to distance and busy lives. Sure, he called, but the calls decreased until he was just another birthday card I received a day late. I wasn't bothered by this, though. My life was just as busy. I had just gotten a new job and was recently married to the most beautiful person I had ever met. I didn't notice that he wasn't calling anymore until the day I picked up the phone and heard his voice on the other end. Just hearing his voice brought back memories of the cornfield behind my father's house, where we spent hours pretending to be explorers in a new world. Of course, we weren't always perfect friends. That cornfield was also the place where I had my first fight with Jeffrey over the woman that would become my wife. There was no winner, but by the end of it, we'd both decided to not let that come between us again. Then he moved away, we grew up, and I got this phone call. He was visiting family and he wanted me to come with him to the gathering. I didn't hesitate to say okay. I leaned down and kissed my wife as I slipped out the front door. I noticed the quality of his car as I slipped inside. Jeff had done well for himself. We spent nearly the entire time at the party catching up. He told me about the clinic he was opening and his own relationship. I told him about my students, my wife, and the baby we'd just adopted. We laughed about how foolish we'd been. We mourned lost time. We became close friends again. Then it was time to go. We piled into the car in silence, neither of us wanting the time to end, and neither of us knowing how we could fill the empty air. It was the radio that broke the ice. Soon we were singing along, and we forgot that the time we had was dwindling the closer I got home. I'm not sure what we hit, but the great time turned bad in an instant. I don't know how far the car flew. All I know is that halfway through the journey I had been thrown from it. Screams filled my ears as my body bounced off the ground and smashed into a streetlight back first. I heard my back snap and felt my heels smack the back of my head before falling to the ground. I heard the screeching of metal as the car slid upside down to a stop. There was a loud whistling in my ears, and the world was oscillating between blurry and frighteningly clear. In the distance I could see Jeffrey laying on the ground. He wasn't moving, and somehow I knew he was dead. Who knew that the few moments we had at the party would be our last together? I tried to move, but a warmth was crawling up my chest and numbing my body, so I sat, trying to remember all the smiles, tears, and good times we'd had. When the paramedics arrived and covered Jeff's body, I was delirious. I thought that was the worst part of my night. Losing a friend was the worst it could get, but then the paramedics walked over to me. They knelt and tore open my shirt. I could see it in his face as he glanced up to his friend. I felt my heart drop. I forgot about Jeffrey, and was only seeing my wife and child. I tried to scream, but it was caught on blood that had begun flooding my lungs. I watched one of the paramedics take a deep breath, and then, with a face of sadness, he shook his head.